Hello and welcome to this ISM webinar, Beyond the Basics, Your Music Industry Questions Answered. I'm Ella Doyle, Events Coordinator and Member Engagement Officer at the ISM. To describe myself for the purpose of accessibility, I'm a white woman with brown hair and I'm wearing a navy blue cardigan. The ISM is the UK's professional body for musicians, and our members come from all areas of the music industry and from a wide variety of genres and musical backgrounds. This includes those who are studying and starting out to those with established careers in the industry. You can find out more about joining the ISM on our website and via the link in the chat. I am delighted today to be joined by my colleagues Ed, Mary, and Courtney, who are here to answer your questions about navigating the music industry and how the ISM can support you. So before we begin the webinar, just a few things to note. Please do introduce yourself in the chat, let us know your role in music and where you're joining from, and keep an eye for some useful links throughout the session. If you experience any technical difficulties, let us know in the chat too, and we'll attempt to resolve these. And please feel free to ask questions using the Q&A function, and we will do our best to answer these at the end. And if you wish to use them, subtitles are available to enable at the bottom of your screen. The webinar is being recorded, and we will share a recording with you after the session. Now, I'm very pleased to hand over to Ed, who is going to start by answering some pre-submitted questions on your music career and making money. Thank you, and over to you, Ed.
Thanks, Ella. Hi, everyone. My name is Ed Phelan. I'm the Knowledge Hub and Resources Manager here at the ISM. To describe myself for the purpose of accessibility, I'm a white male with blonde hair wearing a white t-shirt. Let's give a quick background about myself. I've worked as a session musician, as a music lecturer, as a music educator. I've worked in music tech and many different roles in the music industry. And today I'm going to be talking about careers and making money in the industry. So let's have a look at some of your questions. First question we have is, what things can I start doing now to help get noticed? So we're going to look at this with a few different lenses. Start off as a session musician. So you're starting your career as a musician and you want to get into session work. So there's a few different things you can do. First of all, having a promo reel of some kind. So you might record videos of you performing whatever instrument you play in different styles at a very high standard. This can then be shared on your social medias, such as Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and on your website. This can be a great way to connect to different musicians, show them what you're interested in and your skill set. Another thing you can do is go to gigs and go to performances and talk with the musicians there. Tell them a bit about yourself, tell them about your career goals and what kind of work you want to get into, and take on their advice. You need to build a network of colleagues pretty much from a very early point in your career. You can also go to jam nights in your local area. Here you can get up and play a piece of music with a band. It's a great way to meet new musicians, to talk to people and discuss different work. Another thing you can do if you have connected over different social medias with different musicians is you can reach out and try and collaborate. You can collaborate in styles that you're aware of, styles you're not used to, and just developing that network. For a composer or a songwriter, same idea, but might be a slightly different process. You might go to a songwriters open night, perform some of your songs, meet some different songwriters. Through that, you might be brought on as a support slot for someone, or you just have a tight-knit group and you know of different performance opportunities that come up. And the same with a composer, you might look for some amateur orchestras or amateur ensembles and pitch writing some music for them, and just developing those relationships. So that's what you want to do to get noticed at the start of your career. Question number 2 we have, do you have any advice for moving from part-time freelance to full-time freelance without putting yourself in a very risky position financially? So this is very difficult, and how most freelance musicians get into being a freelance musician is starting off part-time. They might have a full-time job in any industry pretty much, and they want to move into the freelance world. And what you can usually do is try and pick up small bits of work. So it might be a performance at the weekend that you can do alongside your full-time job. It might be an evening performance. A lot of music work happens outside of 9 to 5 hours. So it's important to realize you might have a brief period of time where you have a full-time job and you're taking on additional freelance work. You can also start to do, if you want to get into teaching or things like that, you could try and cut down your full-time job to maybe 4 days a week and have 1 day a week you focus on teaching or music performance or writing or whatever role you want as a freelancer. Then over time, you might get to a point where you work 2 days as a part-time freelancer and you have your full-time job for 3 days. And it might come a point then, say if you want to get into a full week of teaching, coming up to September, a school might book you in for 3 whole days, and you might have to make a cut-off point then. But it's just really important to try and balance the two at the start, so you don't leave yourself in a position where you quit your job and you're struggling to find work. It's really important to remember, as a freelancer, you build up work over a long, long period of time. You're building up networks, relationships, and just different jobs that will last for years. So think of it as a long-term goal. See, what do we have next? Oh yeah, who would be the best people to get work experience in music production at a beginner level? So to get into music production, now has never been a better time. The first thing you should do is download some software, a digital audio workspace. There's Logic, Ableton, Pro Tools. They're cheap enough. If you want a free software, Reaper is amazing. Get them, learn them. There's millions of guides on YouTube. Figure out how to use all of them, or pick one and figure out how to use everything. Then when it comes to music production, pick the style of music you're most comfortable with. There's plenty of production channels on YouTube and on the internet and on ISM resources, and you can figure out how to do certain techniques, production styles, what tropes you might find, instrumentation, how to mix at a beginner level, all these different skills. Once you feel like you've got to a point where you've taught yourself as much as possible, you want to ring up your local studio, or try and find out who's a producer or an engineer in your local studio, and ask them, can you come in maybe one evening, maybe on a weekend, and shadow them? That might involve you're going to wrap up some cables, you're going to clean up after the session is finished, and you might make tea for them. It might seem a bit trivial, but through that experience, you will learn so much. The producer will show you what they're doing. They'll teach you how to use the console. They'll teach you how to use the studio. And over time, you might build up a rapport with different bands, different artists, different producers. And eventually you might get to the point where you can use the studio for your own production after hours when there's no one there, and you can invite bands in and build a network and career like that. What else do we have? What are some things that we can do to learn as much as possible coming into music without any background? This is very difficult. The music industry is so different to many other industries. It's got a lot of quirks. It's hard to find out a lot about those quirks. But the easiest and the best way of doing this is going to performances, going to gigs, and talking to musicians afterwards. Musicians love to talk. They love to tell you about their lives. So ask them, tell them that you're new to the industry, you don't know what to do, tell them your goals, where you want to get, and they'll give you some places to go, people to talk to. They'll hand you phone numbers. Another great thing to do is just try and collaborate with people as much as possible. Find people who are also new to the industry. Try and collaborate in making music, performances, put a trio together, put a duo together, and just build up that network. Another thing you can do is look through our ISM resources. We have loads for performers, recording at home, everything like that, beginning a music teaching career. So have a look through all of that. Try and figure out what you want in your career. Yeah. Next up, we have, how can you achieve a stable income in the music industry and do it full time? There's many ways to do this. All of them are slightly different. The most common way is the portfolio career. So a portfolio career comprises of pretty much anything. Generally speaking, you might do a little bit of teaching. You might do a little bit of session musician work. You might work in an orchestra part-time. You might work on some theater pitch shows. And various different roles. You might do some composing, you might do some songwriting, you might do some music recording, working in music tech. And your job is to craft your career at these different sections of the industry. You might find at one point in your career you're heavy in teaching, and then another point in your career you might move to more on the performing side. You might find you need to join some wedding bands, or you want to get into wedding music. It can be quite a lucrative way to start your career. And then you might move more towards session work. And throughout your whole career, it's kind of going to go one way and the other, and you're going to move the whole time. But the joys about a portfolio career is you never get bored. Every day you can be doing something completely different. If you get bored of something, you can move more towards a different part of the industry. You can also, there is kind of work, you might get a full-time job in a musical theater pit, in an orchestra. You can get full-time teaching work. This is slightly rarer, and you usually get to that place after having a portfolio career for a bit of time. Next question. How do I break into paid session work from free work? So paid session work is incredibly difficult to get at the start of your career. The best way to get paid session work is to build up relationships with people who want you. And they don't just want another musician who can play this part. They don't just want someone they don't know who's recommended. They want you to know you personally. They know your skill set. They're very comfortable working with you. You have to remember session work is making someone's dream come true. It's their piece of music that they love, and they want people around them that they know very well. So reaching out to people, going the extra step for people when you're working for free or working very cheap. If someone asks you to record some tracks um, in X amount of style, maybe you give them a few different options. You know, talk through it with them the whole time. You take feedback from them. You check in with them to see how the work is going. You go to their events and their performances or their showcases, and you build up relationships. So it's a really relationship game. Session work, it's quite difficult to get. It's very competitive, and there's less of it now than there was before, but it's very rewarding if you can get it. Next question. What advice do you give to people who are anxious about taking the first step and failure? This is a great question. It's something we've all experienced. The first step and failure, unfortunately, is where you learn. It's how you learn the industry. You learn to be a better musician, to be a better worker, really. To give an anecdote, I remember the first time I was put into a musical theatre pit, and I was very uncomfortable as a guitar player putting in there. It's not where you usually end up. And I made a mess of it, a little bit of a mess of it. I felt terrible. You go home, you think, what have I done? No one will ever book me again, is the thoughts that go through your head. What you learn is you never make that mistake again. And it makes you a better person for it and a better musician. So don't fear failure. That's how you learn, is what I would say. The first step, it is hard to make the first step. Just saying yes and worrying later is a good way of doing it. If you never take the first step, you'll never know. Great. What else do we have? How would you advise, as a young person, I balance the need for practice and preparation with taking opportunities of action? This is something everyone who studies music in college or any young musician will become aware of. You get a lot of opportunities all of a sudden in your life, and you're also at the point in your life where you need to practice the most. What I will say, practice and preparation should be separated. Preparation is vital. It's the most important thing. People don't care as much of how amazing a musician you are as to opposed to how prepared you are. If you show up for a performance or an opportunity or recording session, preparation is the most important. You want to be on time, you want to be prepared, and you want to be a nice person to be around. It's really, really important. Practice should fit around that. What I would recommend is, instead of thinking of practice as something I need to do X amount every day, and if I don't do it, I'll feel terrible, is whenever you get the opportunity, practice and treat it like that. Sure, you can have structured days sometimes, but don't feel bad if you don't practice one day. Just try and find time whenever possible to practice. Next question. How to start organizing my first band tour? What people do I need? What roles? So if your first tour, it's probably going to be on quite a budget, and the members of the band will have to take up different roles. So first of all, you're going to need a tour manager. This is the person who makes sure everyone wakes up in the morning, everyone arrives at the venue, everyone knows what time sound check is, they know who to contact when they get to the venue, they know who the sound person might be, they know where all the gear is, and they have a plan of action. If something goes wrong, they're the person ringing up a local music shop. Can we borrow a drum kit? Ours has disappeared. We've lost it on a flight. So that's going to be the most organized person you know. If you have room to bring a spare person on, you can kind of think of someone that's good at admin, if not the best person in the band for that. You're probably going to want someone whose job is to stage manage, so set up all the tech, who's really comfortable with working with instruments and setting everything up and knows what the front of house man will want, etc., etc. Those are the two main roles. Depending on how you're traveling, you might want a driver. So your driver might also double as the tour manager. You may want someone doing monitors. So someone in the band might run monitors on stage for the band. If you can have a front of house person, so your own sound tech. This will add an extra member to the group, unfortunately, but it is vital if you can afford it. Remember, what people hear out front is what you are. So having good sound out front and consistent sound across your tour is really important. probably time for one more question here. Oh yeah, I'm interested in how to get labels to listen to music. So very difficult. Labels generally run through their A&R, so artist and repertoire section. So these are people who find artists, find music, and they do it in various different ways. A&R will scan through TikTok and Instagram to find something viral, find something interesting, find a new person, and they might reach out through that lens. If you know some A&R people and you can find them online, find them on LinkedIn or just through contacts, you can invite them to a showcase of yours. So if you feel like this is a really good gig and I want someone to come to it, reach out to A&R people. You can send a bio of yourself if you have a promo pack, maybe a video that you've recorded, and entice them to your event. After that, you want to try and build up a relationship with these A&R people. They won't straight away decide you're the person, but they might go, okay, you need 3 months. Maybe talk to them what they feel like you need to develop and try and work on that. And after 3 months, go back to them and show them what you've improved on and what you've worked on. So that's all we probably have time for the careers and money section, but please do add any questions in and I will try and cover them later on in the Q&A. Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much, Ed. And now I'm just going to pass over to Mary for your questions on marketing.
Hi, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us today. So yeah, as Ella introduced me, my name's Mary. I'm a session musician, performer. I've done backing vocals. I've also been a music teacher briefly as well. I studied at the Royal Northern College of Music doing the popular music performance course. And yeah, I am going to be focusing on the section of marketing questions for us today. So the role in the ISM that I take up is social media and marketing officer. And I'm kind of going to be focusing on around about your social media strategy, how to break into the industry without social media becoming your entire life, and then also promoting your shows and building your digital audience as well. So just to address the first question I have, which is, do you have any advice for those who are new to engaging with an audience through social media? So the first thing that I would suggest is many of you will obviously have lots of artists that you admire and you look up to. I would suggest going and researching those artists, having a look at their profiles yourself, and seeing what kind of styles they're using. Are they using more static posts? Are they using more video content? Do they have a particular font that they use, or is it more off the cuff? So ask yourself a couple questions about just the way that they're approaching their social media style and seeing if you can replicate that or if any of that resonates with you. I'd also really look into the style of music that you are creating. So sometimes the style of music that we create as artists isn't actually the music that we listen to. So make sure that you are actually looking at the artists that create a similar style of music to you, and you're not just looking at the artists that you like to listen to, because it could be in a different genre or sort of branding style, which we're trying to. It's nice to bring it in a combination of both and make it a little bit different and make it unique to yourself, but just make sure that you are fulfilling your music genre as well. My second point on this would be to work on your craft and use it. So if you're doing practice or you're practicing for a rehearsal, solo or within a band, work on that craft and then share that with the world. People absolutely love behind the scenes style video or content. They love to see how you've produced your content, particularly other musicians as well. So share that with the world and bring your audience into the process. And then it kind of starts to create and build a community around your music. They feel like they're part of that journey with you. So that's also something that I would suggest doing. And then something I would also look into is producing a bank of video content. So the way that social media is moving nowadays is that video is almost king. It's great to have press shots, but I would weigh up your priority of whether it's better for you to invest in a good phone, because all phones at the moment are very very good at being able to produce great video content. You can use apps to do all of it as well on the phone. You don't have to use a computer software to be able to do it anymore. I would very much weigh up, is it better for you to invest in a good phone where you can get a lot of content very quickly and publish it all from the phone versus a music video or even just press shots? Once you've built up your following, you will then be able to save up and get those press shots to put across your new music releases and things like that. I should have probably said at the beginning, if there are musicians in here that do session work or you are more artist-led, let me know in the chat, because I can tailor these questions more for building a business within music too. It doesn't have to just be artist and building an audience. So do comment and introduce yourself in the chat if you feel confident enough to. For the next question, how to break into the industry without social media becoming your entire life. So this is more focused on other ways that you can market yourself as a musician. So in a digital world, it's become a little bit all-consuming around social media as the only way to market yourself because it is such a big platform. However, there are multiple ways that you can actually market yourself, and that can be through email. Your website is your marketing platform as well, putting shows on, merch, and lots of things. So you can begin to create almost a marketing strategy through all these different channels that you market and build your audience through. So my suggestion initially would be to build yourself a website and get a mailing list pop-up that comes up that says, join the mailing list to find out about all my new shows or new merch that I'm going to launch. Get that looking all nice. And then I would also get all of your gigs listed on there as well if you know you've got a lot coming up. Some of you might not, some of you might just be building that, but even just having that on a website for people to click through is really great and just helps with the whole customer journey. And then your merch as well. This is a really great way for you to actually build a little bit of an income. So if you have a little bit of extra spare cash that you can invest a couple £100 into getting some t-shirts, some caps, or even just pins made, you can build your marketing customer journey. And yeah, I think that kind of covers that a little bit. There's a couple resources that I want to flag that the ISM can provide and give you some guidance with on this as well. We have a how to release marketing release plan, which you can, I'm sure Ella will be able to link if she can in the chat. And we also have a how to build a digital audience as well. So do check those out. They are very thorough and they provide some really great insights into how to do all of this from scratch, which is great. And they're very tailored to our industry as well. Finally, we've got, from a marketing perspective, what do you feel is the best way of increasing exposure to music and promoting your shows? So I think kind of what I want to focus on here, from a marketing perspective, what do you feel is the best way of increasing exposure to music and promoting your shows? You need to work and nurture all of the things that I've just mentioned, which is the email, the website, your shows, your merch, and your social media. There needs to be a consistency across all of those different platforms. And what will end up happening is it will create a domino effect, and if it's all consistent across all the different platforms, then you'll find that your audience members, you can tell them from a marketing background, you'll find that your audience members are buying into your journey and also becoming part of your community. And essentially that is what your fan base is all about. You're trying to build a really loyal fan base that are going to leave your shows or leave your social media and share it with somebody else. So you're trying to build a community around your music for people to share. And when you're thinking about increasing your exposure, it's also you're also thinking about retaining that fan base, and that's why it's so important to nurture these different marketing channels. So even if you haven't got any new shows coming up, be creative in the way that you're thinking about promoting your music. So share a little snippet of the songwriting process, or just share, maybe make a song for the show that you're going to be performing at, or you're at. If you're performing in your local pub, collaborate with them. So touching on some of the little bits that Ed was actually just talking about, collaboration with musicians. So if you've got a group of 2 to 3 other musicians that you worked on the release with, then go ahead and collaborate with them and get them to share that content as well. I also just wanted to touch slightly on the promoting of the shows aspect, and when you're doing live performance, it is not just your responsibility as a musician to promote the shows. If you are working with a good promoter, it is also their responsibility too to promote those shows. So make sure that when you're going out and doing these live performances, that you're talking and networking with musicians and understanding who those promoters are that do put in the effort, that are also trying to make an impact within the music scene, and are also trying to change the narrative in terms of making sure that musicians are getting heard, and they're helping raise awareness about these independent musicians, because those are the promoters that you should be wanting to work with. There's a lot of instances where the promoters expect musicians to do a lot of the work, and our industry is incredibly hard. It's kind of a catch-22. There's room for everyone, but there's also room for no one. So while we need to be able to stand out of the crowd, we also need help to be able to do that, and the promoters need to take a little bit of responsibility. If they're good promoters, they will help promote your work, but that doesn't mean to say that you shouldn't put the work in as well. You should definitely look at who's on the bill, and collaborate with those musicians. If you're going to be performing with them, make sure you're tagging them in all of your posts, sharing what's happening on the evening of the show as well. But yeah, musicians, it's in their nature to connect and network with each other. We love to understand each other in our processes. So don't ever be afraid to reach out. We've all share common characteristics and personality traits. So always reach out, ask for help, and just say, look, I've got this post and I'm performing on X, Y, and Z. Do you mind coming along? Or just sharing it. And nobody's going to turn around and say no. It's just not in our nature to do that. We always want to support each other, so do ask for the help as well. I've kind of covered a lot around independent artists. If there are any questions, around any, I can see Jack has come through here. Yes, I'm currently studying BA. It'd be great to find out how to market my skill set on social media, record labels, to be able to get work in this field. To be able to get work in the field, that's a tough one. Ed's kind of talked about, and maybe Ed can jump in a little bit if he wants to. Getting work in the field is really difficult. I suggest, as Ed has said, network and work with other musicians, and just chat. Do you have anything you want to say on that, Ed?
Yeah, no, you're right. It is a networking thing. I would say at the start, you might have to offer your services for free or nearly free, and work with friends and build up a promo reel pretty much of the work you've done so people know. But yeah, it's just networking, as you said.
Yeah, I mean, I remember when I was at uni, I would do multiple, and I'm a singer, I would do multiple tracks and just sing on people's tracks for them for free. It's a fantastic experience for the singer. So if you are in an institution, like you said, at ICMP, singers, that is material for them and experience for them. So use the situation that you're in now and the institution that you're in now to get access to that. You've not got a better opportunity really to connect with these people, and you never know where they're going to end up later on down the line. So yeah, just definitely connect with them. I'm kind of finished on my sort of section. Thanks so much, but please do just keep asking questions, and I can tailor it more to building a business within music for session musicians and teachers too as well.
Thank you so much, Mary. And so Courtney's just jumped on now to talk a bit about how the ISM can help your career in the industry. Thanks, Courtney.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. Just checking you can now see my screen. All good.
Yep.
Perfect. Okay, so I'm Courtney Lauder. I'm from the ISM. I'm a senior marketing manager, and for accessibility purposes, I'm a mixed race woman with black curly hair wearing a cream jumper. So following Ed and Mary, I'll be letting you know about ISM and our membership benefits and services that will help you as a musician or as someone working in music to navigate a career in music. So what is the ISM? The ISM is the UK's professional body for musicians. We've been going since about 1882, and we have over 11,000 members across the UK, made up of people working in pretty much every aspect of the music sector and the music community. So if you work as an administrator or a manager in music, including working for venues and record labels, you can be part of the ISM. Or if you compose or create music or teach music, conduct, perform, work in music therapy or in kind of a workshop setting, you are welcome to join, and that's whether you are full-time or freelance in music. So ISM campaigning is a huge part of what we do. We campaign tirelessly to protect musicians and those working in music. This means that we actively lobby government on behalf of members and create like a voice for music and for musicians. And so to coincide with that, the ISM has researched and written and commissioned a wide range of groundbreaking and influential reports on issues at the heart of the music industry. So we've got my colleague here, Macaulay, and hopefully he will play. He will just let you know a little bit more about what the External Affairs team do at the ISM.
I'm Taylor, and I'm a member of the External Affairs team here at the ISM. The ISM has a long history of standing up for the rights of musicians and those who work in the music industry. And we continue to campaign today on the issues that matter most to musicians. Our efforts span industry-wide, including areas such as music education, arts under threat, international touring, and this year's hot topic, AI. So what have we done in 2023? Well, we campaigned to save the BBC singers, along with other colleagues in the music industry, after the shock announcement that the BBC intended to disband the group earlier this year. We launched a hashtag Save Our Subjects campaign, backed by peers in the arts and technology education sphere, and the campaign calls on government to review and reform the accountability measures that have diminished art subjects in our schools. We released Paying the Price, a first of its kind report that revealed the devastating impact of Brexit upon musicians touring the EU. Thanks for all your support this year. For more info on our campaign and efforts, head on over to our website at ism.org/campaigning.
So in terms of industry news, it's probably a given, and Mary and Ed probably touched upon this as well, that you need to stay ahead of the curve when you're just starting out. We have a lot of students come to the ISM, so this might be quite beneficial for you guys. So we have a few topics here that we are seeing come through quite a lot, and this might be useful just for you to get more familiar with. So first up, we have streaming and trends, and it's probably wise to keep up with the latest developments in major streaming platforms because there's always something new. So for example, we're seeing a lot of music platforms increasingly utilising artificial intelligence and machine learning for personalised recommendations in terms of playlists. This leads on quite nicely to emerging technologies like virtual reality or augmented reality, which are now being integrated into the music experience. So this is similar to music consumption. Artificial intelligence is being seen in the creation, curation, and discovery of music. So a couple of months back, it was announced that the UK actually created a code of practice for music streaming transparency, which the ISM has signed up to, and these questions might come up in potential interviews in the future. Something that I've been noticing a lot lately is the music industry's focus on environmental and social responsibility, and that's really gaining momentum. So, for example, we are going to conferences where, you know, a lot is being mentioned on sustainability and the environmental impact music is having, and the music industry is increasing too. So yeah, recently we attended a conference that was solely on sustainability within the music sector, and I think this is going to get much bigger in the future as well. So in terms of breaking into the industry, we have a few points here that might help. This has probably been touched on by Mary and Ed in some of their questions that were previously submitted. But a good place to start is to reflect on where you are currently and where you see your strengths and your, you know, weaknesses or any gaps, thinking about what you want your career to look like, whether it's performing, composing, teaching, producing, that sort of thing, and then creating a plan with clear and achievable goals. It's, you know, it's okay for your plans and goals to evolve over time, but having a direction will really help you to stay focused. Pursuing professional experience. So practical experience is invaluable. If you look for internships or apprenticeships or even shadowing opportunities, I think Ed mentioned that sometimes you might have to do things for free, but this will really help. Not only will this help you to learn on the job, but it will also give you a clearer idea of what works for you and where you want to specialise, you know, what industry you want to specialise in. Mary and Ed have said quite a few times as well that the industry is all about who you know. So if you can attend events and join professional organisations like the ISM, where we have our own networking events, you can then stay active within your local music scene. And networking isn't just about meeting people in person, it can be just about building genuine relationships with colleagues, getting some mentor advice, and even collaborating with people on work. So that kind of feeds in nicely to the last few points. Don't be afraid to ask for advice. Many experienced musicians have been in your shoes, and are probably happy to share what they have been through. We had a great webinar that hopefully some of you guys attended last time called Breaking into the Music Industry, where we had 3 musicians talk about their experience and what they went through to get to the point that they are in now. So I recommend watching that back if you haven't already. And then I know that Mary mentioned how to market yourself without social media, but in this day and age, it's very important to have an online presence. So if you didn't want to have social media, there are still lots of other options you can do. We were just recently at a Ditto X conference where we had a panel called How to Get Noticed as an Independent Artist, and we actually had one of our speakers called Dan. He is a promoter and he was giving his perspective on how to get noticed as an artist. And he had a really good point, which was that he knew someone that actually set up their own WhatsApp group. So rather than being on social media, they had their own WhatsApp group where they had, I think it was up to 100 people, their first initial fans. So that could be your family and friends to start with, and then people that you just meet. And they actually created a WhatsApp group to just keep them in the loop, kind of like a mailing list. And that's how they started off. So that was a kind of different perspective to being on Instagram, TikTok, that sort of thing. So for jobs, the ISM has a tailored jobs for musicians page. This is, you can find this on our website, and hopefully Ella will put this in the chat. But this is just a one-stop shop, basically showcasing everything that's available in the industry, and we'll point it in the direction of performers and composers, educators, and those working in administrative roles as well. So I really recommend checking out this page. We've also got a list here of some of the useful job sites that we've seen some students really benefit from. And what I would say is that, just for a top tip, some of these like the Unsigned Guide, definitely in Music Week, they have a weekly newsletter, maybe bi-weekly newsletter, so they will be posting information about jobs, about industry topics, just to keep you updated so that when you do go out into the world of work, you are kind of prepped and ready to go to have conversations, and you'll just be able to see some of the jobs that do come through as well, to see where you kind of want to sway to. So I would recommend taking a screenshot of that and checking out some of those. So in terms of ISM membership benefits and services, we have a whole range of membership benefits and services that are really key for students and people early on in their career, trying to navigate a career. So just a few of these that Ed and Mary have touched upon already is our professional development, which is we have a whole range of webinars on key topics, which covers quite a range, and we also have a load of how-to guides as well. So as an ISM member, you would automatically get access to these how-to guides. Off the top of my head, we've got how to release a DIY marketing plan. We've got how to begin teaching, lots of other guides that will be beneficial for you to download and read, that you might not have been able to see at university or conservatoire. So those might be worthwhile checking out. And we also, by joining up to the ISM, you get an enhanced professional status. So I am a senior marketing manager at the ISM. I also am an associate member of the Chartered Institute of Marketing. And this is really worthwhile me being part of, because I can put it on my CV, it makes me look more professional, and that I'm, like making the most of my career. So I would really recommend that. A couple more membership benefits and services. We've got a funding and opportunities page, how to make a funding application, and a couple of blog posts on music as a career choice. So we do get a lot of questions through about funding from students and people early on in their career. I will, hopefully some of those will be sent through into the chat as well, because these are really great. We scour the internet for funding opportunities, and we also get sent lots of opportunities from our industry partners. So yeah, it's worthwhile checking those out. We regularly update those, and if you need any help or advice in finding more of these opportunities, then you can always get in touch. So just to kind of summarise how we can help at the ISM is well, everything on your screen here and probably a bit more. Most suitable for people starting out in the industry and trying to navigate would probably be our contracts advice. So we have an in-house legal team that are on hand to answer questions. If you get sent through a contract and you're unsure whether or not to sign it, you can send it through to us and we can let you know whether you should sign it or not. We also have information and support on copyright and royalties. We know that can be quite a tricky topic when you're first starting out. So yeah, just business advice, contract advice, copyright and royalties in general, they are all very, very sought after when people become ISM members. We also have a music directory. So if you wanted to promote yourself, you can upload your profile to our music directory and it can help you to get jobs and just put yourself out there. You can list what you do and who you're trying to target, and yeah, we'll be on our music directory. As mentioned, we've also got our music job board and we've got performer and composer opportunities. We also have a huge tax page. So this covers a whole range of tax advice, business advice that might be useful for you. And we have an unpaid fees recovery service. So that's our in-house legal team helping to recover any money that hasn't been paid out to you if you performed or created a piece of music, or it's our legal team will help you to recover that. And we also have visa and work permit advice as well, so quite a lot. And then just touching on the membership benefits and services from our ISM Members Fund. These are services that help you with your well-being, whether that's mental well-being, physical well-being, financial well-being. We've kind of got it all covered. So we have our mental health support, which is a 24-hour advice line and access to structured counselling. We also have a physiotherapy service, and that's for you to get expert intervention for muscle and joint problems. We have our hearing health scheme, which is very popular. That's to help you assess whether your hearing is damaged or not, and you can get custom in-ear earplugs for that, so that's worthwhile checking out. And then we also have our financial advice, so that's for help with, you know, debt management, budgeting, that sort of thing. So I think I've covered everything there. Yep, student membership is only £17 a year, so that's a really good deal. And our early career membership is for those who have just entered the profession, and that is £57 a year, or £5.70 a month over 10 months. And if you were interested, we would be able to give you a little bit of a discount for attending this webinar. So keep your eyes peeled after the webinar. And that's just my email details in case anyone needed to get in touch directly.
Great, thank you so much, Courtney. So now we have got some time for a Q&A. So if you could stop screen sharing, Courtney, and Ed and Mary have jumped back on to join us. So we've had a few more pre-submitted questions, but also if you have any other questions, do add those to the Q&A box. But to start, I think I'll send this one your way to start with, Mary, and then Ed, you might want to jump in as well. But we've had, how do you regain confidence in your music after a negative music teacher / music industry experience?
Yeah, great question. So there's been that, even within my own experience as a singer, I've had probably about 5 to 6 teachers, and also during college as well, had worked with a number of different teachers. And sometimes getting feedback, some people don't consider it, they don't give it in a very constructive manner, and that can be a little bit yeah, it can be really hard to receive sometimes, and it can really knock your confidence. And I have experienced that myself. The one thing I would suggest is one, reaching out for help. So your institution should have support and help to be able to talk and give you guidance on how to manage that situation if it needed to be escalated. Also know your rights as a person, and if you're being exposed inappropriately, or they're not delivering the critique in an appropriate way, you are you have rights and you can speak up for those. So please don't ever feel that if you are losing confidence, my biggest advice would be to talk to friends, to a trusted, if you have another teacher that you work with, another trusted teacher, or your institution should have services to be able to speak to a counsellor or a trusted and trained professional that you can speak and talk this through with. But it's very difficult when you get a little bit of a knock in confidence, and that doesn't actually have to come directly from a teacher either. It can just be through being in our industry. You can get a little bit of a knock in confidence because it's such a comparative industry. But you aren't alone. Many people do struggle. And yeah, Ed, is there anything that you would like to add to that?
Yeah, no, I completely agree with everything there. Maybe just more the negative experiences that happen day to day, when you're studying music or when you're working in the industry. And it can be hard sometimes. Some people just learn to develop a very thick skin. I think you're completely right, though, talking with your peers about what's going on, understanding why something might be going on, and being okay to remove yourself from either a work situation or an education situation. Just because a teacher or someone you work with is very renowned and amazing and able for whatever, does not mean they're a good teacher or someone you want to work with. And being okay, just remove yourself from the situation, I suppose, even though you might feel like it will affect your career. It definitely won't.
Yeah.
Thank you. And Ed, I think this question I'll send to you first as well. So, what are the best ways to find collaborators for your own music and projects to work on for others?
Yeah, so for your own music, it can be tricky. If you have music ready to go, if you can go perform it somewhere, maybe in an open mic or a jam, or maybe just a gig, if you can get someone to book you in for a short set, invite as many people as you know, or if it's in a network of people, try and chat to people afterwards. If they've seen your set, talk to the musicians. You'll know straight away if people like your music and they want to work with you. And don't be afraid to ask people to collaborate. Everyone wants to collaborate. No one's going to reject you and say, no, I'd never work with you. That will never happen. So be open to everyone as well. Work with people you wouldn't expect you'd want to work with because their style of music is different, I suppose. Regards to working for other people, go to performances, go to gigs, go to showcases, and talk to the people performing. Tell them how much you love their music. Tell them you'd love to collaborate with them in whatever way that might be. It might just be meeting up with them, talking about music, showing them your music. They might send you music, and it's just building up those relationships. Don't know if you want to add to that, Mary.
No, I thought that yeah, no, I totally agree. Some of my interestingly, and I didn't really think much of this at the time. There was a instance for me that when I was at college, an opportunity came up to go and teach at a summer school. And I was going into it to get more experience in teaching, not to initially make connections with anybody that was at the summer school. However, through that summer school 2-week period where I was teaching, I started talking to all the different lecturers who were teaching all the children, and he was like, oh, I think you might be quite good to like do some session work with. Do you mind if I take your number? So you just never know where like these opportunities are going to come from. So don't pass something off is my advice because you think it might not work out or it's not worth your time. I would like, you just don't know where the opportunities are going to come from. And some of my most exciting experiences have been with that person. So yeah.
Thank you. It's really good advice. And again, Mary, I think this one for you. While I like to take as many opportunities as possible, sometimes playing in a lot of bands can get hectic. What is some advice you have for balancing being in lots of projects and maintaining good well-being?
Yeah, okay, that's a good one. So I can see it from a singer's point of view. It might be slightly different for an instrumentalist point of view. How do you manage the workload? Being organized is one. I think as creatives, we tend to have a slight disposition to be a little bit scattered with our practice. So be as organized as you possibly can. Make sure that you always don't wait to be given the music, always ask for the music. And if they don't give you the music and enough time to practice it, then that's on them. So always ask and make sure that you've got everything you need to fulfill that practice. It is important to say yes to as many things as possible, but understand your workload. So if you notice that you're getting anxious or you're feeling overwhelmed, then it's okay to say no, because if you've got too much on and you can't perform to the best of your abilities, you're not doing yourself, you're doing yourself a disservice by not being able to perform to the highest of standards because you haven't given yourself enough time to work on the piece. So saying no is not a bad thing at all, but just listen to your body a little bit and understand if you're feeling overwhelmed. What do you think, Ed?
No, I completely agree about knowing when to say no, which is a very difficult thing to do, especially when you're committed to try and get as much work as possible in the industry. What I often find is learning or knowing how long it takes you to learn something, and how much time you need to prepare for whatever it is you were booked for. And once you figure that out, being really diligent and tough on yourself for if I need to prepare this for Friday and it's Monday now, I have to do something on Tuesday. I have to do something on Wednesday. You can't cram music. It's the worst thing to try and cram. Really don't try and do it. So that's what I'd say. Know how long you need to prepare for something. And if something comes up in between, maybe you might have to decide, okay, this is more important than this. I'm going to have to drop this because I need to be extremely prepared for this performance or whatever it might be. At the start, don't be afraid of opportunities though. So try and take everything, learn how long you need to learn stuff, learn how much you can do in a week, learn how much time you need to prepare for something. And do be wary of some people will throw stuff on you because they've got a new opportunity comes up. They need to get rid of this opportunity, this gig or this performance, and they just throw it on you, and it might be the wrong decision for you to take it. Even if it's looks like a great opportunity on paper, maybe you needed a few weeks to prepare for it. So just trying to read every situation and know yourself.
Mhm. Yeah, and
Thank
also
you.
just sorry, Ella, just touching
Mm.
on that. I've noticed working as a singer as well, and especially when singers are putting work together for a band, some singers don't know, they don't have the ability to be able to give you charts or to give you music. And I think there's a little bit of a question around, can I ask for that? You just ask for it and they will tell you
Yeah.
if they can't do it. And it is on that musician to go and find those charts for you. It's not being rude, you're just doing your job professionally. So don't ever be afraid to ask. It's always more in the tone of voice of how you ask
Yeah.
usually, but just don't be afraid to ask for what you need, because you are doing your job professionally by doing that. So yeah.
Yeah, be very careful, because people will give you a date, a time, and a figure of money and say, are you available? You have to know more than that.
Yeah.
I remember years ago I got asked to do an orchestra performance recording at 9 a.m. and I got asked at 10 p.m. the night before with no other information. I asked what was the recording for, and it was like hundreds of pages of intricate guitar work that someone was trying to flog off. And so just be careful and do ask. Yeah.
Thank you. So I can see in the chat we've had a question around securing rights. So I think it might be a bit specific for us to answer, but it's probably worth us flagging. So they've said that they're a music producer and sound engineer, and they're kind of wondering about when and how they get paid. What do they need to learn? Do they need to hire a lawyer? All of that sort of thing. But I think it might be worth kind of mentioning that the ISM, by being an ISM member, how we can help with that. So if anyone wants to talk about our legal support.
I would say with that, always ask for advice sooner rather than later. Don't set up anything halfway through and then get in touch with your lawyer, because you don't know basically what's being set out and what you've laid out and how much of a hole you might have dug. So yeah, I definitely would reach out to a lawyer ASAP if you can.
Yeah, and make sure you have a contract rather than, oh, he told me he'd give me some points on my song. It should be through PRS though. But yeah, do get in touch if you're unsure and if you're looking for a contract.
Yes, and our legal team can help with these sorts of things if you're an ISM member. So all sorts of contract advice and things like that is definitely stuff that we can assist with. So finally, I think last question, we've had, how would you overcome losing motivation to get back on track with chasing your dream as an artist, and how to manage your mental health with that? So slightly similar to the one earlier. Ed or Mary, who would you like to take that?
Do you want to go first, Ed?
Yeah, I'll go first. Yeah, so losing motivation happens to everyone, sometimes on a weekly basis, sometimes on a yearly basis. I think what can happen is you burn out sometimes and you forget why you were doing it. And it just becomes always thinking about the next event, and you stop being in the moment and realize why you're doing what you're doing, and how lucky you are sometimes maybe to be performing all the time or teaching music or surrounded by music. I think it's important sometimes to just take each day as it is. And when you go to a performance, don't think about the one that's coming up next week. Try not to stress about a recording session you might have, and just enjoy the music. Imagine it's the last time you're ever going to play a certain gig, is how I try and approach it. But it is very hard, and sometimes you need a break. Sometimes you just need to take a weekend off performance, or take a week off, reflect, listen to some music, think about what you got into music in the first place, and then come back. Regarding managing mental health, we have services at the ISM that we offer. I don't know if you want to add on that, Mary.
Yeah, do you know what? I was thinking about this also in terms of like marketing as well. I think in the digital world that we live in, there's a slight I don't think people are naive enough to think that they'll become famous within a night. However, I do want to stress that most people that are Grammy nominated plus or whatever have been working on their craft for probably over 10 years. And that's just as a single band as well. So as a musician, they've been working on their craft for multiple years, much more than a decade. But as a band or an artist, they've been working on their craft for probably more than 10 years. So it is a long haul. Like when you're committing to this industry, like you're committing for a very long time, and it can be it can be depressing sometimes. But like Ed has already said, remember the reason why you came into it. It gives you a lot of joy to be able to create your music and share your passion. And the comparative culture that we have with social media, I would suggest taking time away from that. So if you're releasing a song or you're releasing an album, make sure you're factoring in time to come away from that digital space and those numbers, and you're not looking at figures, and you're actually giving yourself space to be like, okay, I've achieved that now. What's my next project that I'm going to work on? So yeah, it's a long journey, but every career is. So many people are feeling the same. But as what Ed said, please do, if you're an ISM member or are thinking about becoming an ISM member, it's particularly for students, for £17, you're getting one-to-one counselling, which is incredible, rather than spending £100 plus for sessions. So definitely look into the wellbeing packages that we provide as well as ISM.
Great, thank you so much. I think that's all that we have time for today, but thank you, Ed, Mary and Courtney, for that really useful session. And thank you to everyone for joining us. I hope you found it useful. And if you have any further questions, please do email us on membership@ism.org. And please let us know in the chat the other topics that you'd like to see us covering in future events. So the webinar recording will be sent to you along with some information about the ISM and how you can join. But finally, may I thank you again for watching, and we hope to see you at another ISM event soon. Goodbye.